on YouTube. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here right when I got started. Appreciate you guys. We are going to go game by game. We're going to go through the entire slate, all of the start sits for the entire week. We're also going for a new like record today. That is 125. We need to beat 125 likes to set a new like record for this stream. And we're going to get started going through a Thursday night game. But before we do, I want to honor you guys who are joining in early and often and answer your questions. So if you have any start sit questions for this week, drop them down in the comments. I'm going to be answering your questions, prioritizing them first. But while we're waiting for some questions, I just want to talk about a couple of the injury updates we have to note this week. Brock Purdy is out. Juwan Jennings is out. Ricky Pearsall is out. And of course, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk are out. The entire 49ers offense, aside from Christian McCaffrey, is injured. Absolutely crazy that Christian McCaffrey is the only healthy member of the team. Trey Benson is also on IR. It looks like Michael Carter will be the starting running back there. And we started to get a couple questions here. We're going to start by answering your questions, guys. If you just joined in, we are going to go game by game, but I want to honor you guys who are joining in early by answering your questions. So we got the first question from Swim. Do you like trading A.J. Brown for Godwin rest of the season? I honestly do. We saw in this first game, Godwin had 10 targets. Now, he only had 3 receptions, but honestly, I still think he scored more fantasy points than A.J. Brown in this game. And A.J. Brown, he's going to have some more good games, for sure. But on a regular basis, especially with the Bucky Irving injury, we don't know exactly how bad that is, but he was spotted in crutches in a walking boot. They're going to need other players to step up. So I do like Godwin rest of season. Rashad White, a start over Chase Brown? I think so. Yeah, it's just the Bengals. They're not going to be able to do anything at all. They play Detroit this week. You guys saw the viral clip. 3 players on Denver rush, and they still got a sack against the Bengals. It was absolutely crazy. Carter or White? I think I'd go Rashad White. How do we feel about Kyron? I feel good about him. I mean, there's going to be some games where he's the touchdown guy. When they played the Colts, he wasn't the touchdown guy, but he's overall going to be good this season. Trade targets for Henry. Yeah, I'm not huge on Henry right now. I've got him in a couple leagues, actually pretty scared. But I think there's like Quidshot Junkins, Omarion Hampton. People are really trading away players for the name Derrick Henry. So I'm just going to recommend, while he's not playing great, start high and work through there. And by the way, guys, if you're just joining in, we are going to go game by game. If you could hit that like button, we're going for a new like record today. We need to be 125 likes. So if you guys want to help me hit that record, hit that subscribe, hit that like button. Let's answer a couple more questions here. Where's Will? Says Kyron Williams or Breece Hall rest of season. That's a great question because Breece Hall's, all of his backups got hurt. So right now I'm actually leaning Breece Hall because the volume should be a lot stronger for him. Picked up DeMarcado last night, randomly got so lucky. BBB, watch out though, because people are talking about Michael Carter being actually the lead back for the Cardinals. So you may need to add both. Unfortunately, we just don't know what that's going to look like. Debo or T for wide receiver 2. If you guys missed it, I posted today. T. Higgins is a sit. I called him as a sit last week. I called him as a sit this week again. The Bengals offense, I don't think you can really play anybody. I don't think you can even play Jamar Chase. He's had under 10 points in 3 out of 4 weeks so far. What do you think I can get for Jordan Mason? Look for the guy that has Aaron Jones and try to sell Jordan Mason, because that way he has both. He has the whole backfield, and try to take like a wide receiver 2 or a running back 2 off of him. Garrett Wilson and J.K. Dobbins for St. Brown. I think that's a little bit steep, but if you do want the consistency, if you do want to grab the best player in that trade, maybe Dobbins is coming off your bench, I think that's a good move. But guys, one thing you have to keep in mind, bye weeks start this week. So maybe they didn't hit you this week, but bye weeks are going to hit you, and you're going to want to have at least one good bench player to start sliding into those starting spots. So just keep that in mind. You probably want one good bench wide receiver, one good bench running back to get you through all the bye weeks. Now, if all your bye weeks stack up on 1 week, that's fine. Take the L that week. But if they're sporadically throughout the season, make sure you have somebody on your bench to sub in for those weeks. Now, guys, we're going to go game by game here. And after each game, we're going to answer start-sit questions. So our first game, and this one's a huge one, is Thursday Night Football, the 49ers at the Rams. Now, this Rams defense is going to cook. I think the Rams defense is actually an amazing add because Brock Purdy is out. Pearsall is out. Juwan Jennings is out as well. This is going to be a Rams defense facing almost a complete second string. The only starter out there is Christian McCaffrey. Absolutely insane for the 49ers offense. The only Christian McCaffrey is healthy. Obviously, he's a start in this game. I don't know if you really can force anybody else into your lineup. Jake Tungus, the tight end for the 49ers, could be a good start as well. For the Rams, Kyron, Puka, Devonta Adams. I think we're starting all 3 this week. I'm not huge on Stafford. If you have to start him because you got Lamar out or you got quarterback injury or you got players on bye, that's fine. Stafford's a fine replacement. But in terms of upside, I think Kyron does have a better game this week. So this one doesn't have a lot of start sit questions. Maybe Tungus, Jake Tungus for the 49ers is the main call out because I think we're starting all of our Rams players, including the Rams defense. This is a great game for that defense. Again, they're just missing all their top players except Christian McCaffrey. So Christian McCaffrey, he's going to have an insane game, but I think it's going to be tough for San Francisco to move the ball. So watch out there. This Thursday night football game. Not a ton to talk about from a start-sit perspective. Tons of injuries, though. And we are going to be talking about all the other games here in this live as well. So let's answer a couple questions, and then we'll move on to the next game. Is Kendrick Bourne a start? I wouldn't force him in. Is Jamar Chase a buy? I wouldn't force Jamar Chase as a buy either. Kendrick Bourne or Kupp? I'd probably go Kupp, unfortunately. Genty or ETN? That's a tough one because Genty, he really got the Bears boost, but I would roll Genty this week. I mean, ETN probably a little bit safer. This Raiders O-line is bad. Let's just call it what it is. They're terrible. The Bears defensive line is just really struggling and injured even more. So I don't think this is Genty finding his stride. I think he's a good player, but I just think the Bears are just a boost for Genty. Drop Ridley. I would probably wait another game. I mean, Ridley, is there someone you want to add that's better? His potential to break out is definitely there. The Titans definitely need to work on something. If you watch the game, and I watched the game, I live in Nashville, guys. I'm really rooting for the Titans this year. They start almost every drive with an offensive holding. When you start every drive with offensive holding, I'm not joking. It was nearly every drive on the first set of downs. They had offensive holding almost every time, sometimes multiple times. And that's a huge issue. If you have holding on every play and Cam Ward has to drop back 10 yards, it's not going to go well. But if they do improve over the course of the season, Ridley could actually be pretty good. Emarcado or Carter, what I've been reading, guys, and this is a big update for a lot of you out there who are dealing with running back injuries, Michael Carter will be the starting running back for the Cardinals. That's what I've been reading. It's not guaranteed. We don't know 100% yet, but that's the way it's looking right now. Henry, Hunter, Amin, Slayton, Shakir for the flex pick 2. I think we're just going Henry or Hunter Henry for sure. And then I probably would go with Shakir. He had a good game, so maybe ride the hot hand there. Would you drop Gainwell if you have Warren? I don't think Gainwell, you need to roster him, but maybe you can trade him away. He did have a huge game. They're on bye this week, though. I don't really think he's that important if you do need to add somebody off waivers. Guys, we're going to continue going game by game here. We're going to cover every game in this hour, and we got Minnesota versus the Minnesota Vikings versus the Cleveland Browns. So the first thing I want to call out here, this game is at 8:30. So if there's any injured players right now, I can't think of any, but this is something you got to watch out for in this early game. Last week, we talked about it on this live as well. Jaylen Warren, he was out. So that's one issue with these early games. It's at 8:30 Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time, Minnesota versus Cleveland in Tottenham Stadium. So we got on the Viking side, you're going to start Justin Jefferson, and I think that's the only really you have to start. I'm not leaning too far into Hawkinson. Jordan Mason, I'm not starting at all. We've seen running backs struggle immensely against this Browns team. David Montgomery last week, 1 point, right? 1 fantasy point. It was awful. And then on the Cleveland side of the ball, Judkins is a great start. You saw the Steelers, Gainwell carve them up last week. The Minnesota Vikings offensive line is also extremely hurt. I know I'm bouncing back and forth here, but Cleveland is an amazing defense to start this week. But I still think Minnesota is a good start. They're facing Dylan Gabriel. I think Judy's a sit. I think Isaiah Bond is an exciting waiver ad, guys. His snap share. We're going to look at Isaiah Bond here in the Walter Picks app because I got to show you guys, this is a really important waiver ad if he's available in your league. I want to show you his snap share. We got that right here. Snap percentage. Ooh, I'm going too far. There it is. 27%, 38%, 65, and then 55 week 4. But overall, it's been doing pretty good. It's been increasing. And let's look at the routes as well. 11 routes, 19 routes, 23 routes, and 27 routes. So at least maybe his snap percentage didn't increase every single week, but his route rate did. 22, 38, 60, 71. That's the kind of growth we want to see. So Isaiah Bond, if he's on waivers in your league, I would add him. Now, I would probably sit him this week against the Vikings to see how this looks with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback. But that's a key add for this game. So really the only start here, I think, are the defenses. If you want to go for the kickers, you can. Quidshot Junkins, of course, a start as well. Justin Jefferson, a start. And that's really about it for these two games because I don't think you can really start too much. The over-under, guys, is only 36.5. The by far lowest of the week. It's the only one in the 30s, and it is at 36. So watch out for this game if you have players. And a reminder, it starts at 9:30 Eastern Time. The next game is Raiders versus Colts. But we're going to answer a couple questions here. Should I trade Nico, RJ Harvey, and Jordan Mason for Saquon? I would probably do that trade, Javier, if you have if some of those guys are on your bench. Trade Kendre Miller for Sharp. I would probably keep Kendre Miller. Now that you mentioned Mason, Is it possible you're starting, let me see here. Now that you mentioned Mason, possible you're starting Myers or BTJ over Mason. I would start BTJ over Mason. BTJ, we're going to talk about him a little bit later, but I was very impressed by his game on Sunday. Woody Marks or BTJ? I would go with Woody Marks. Rank these rest of season. Juwan Johnson, Pitts, and Waller. It's tough to rank Waller after really essentially one game. But with Tyreek Hill out, I kind of lean Waller to be a top-tier option. The tight end, Juwan Johnson. Not Juwan Johnson. Who's the Steelers guy that they got? Now I'm drawing a blank here. But the Steelers got, I lost his name, but they got him from the Dolphins from last season, and he had a great year. So I think Darren Waller would probably be the guy I go for rest of the season, but it's hard. I wouldn't make any trades with Kyle Pitts because he looks great as well. Jonnu Smith, thank you guys. Thank you. It was another J name. Cup or Lad? I'd go Lad. I think the potential's there. And guys, let's jump to the next game here. We're going over the Raiders and the Colts, and I want to look at Ashton Genty in the Walter Picks app here. And guys, we're going game by game. If you just joined in, I appreciate you coming over from the Walter Picks app. We're going to go through every game, every start sit, and answer some of your questions in between. And we're looking at Ashton Genty here. By the way, guys, we are also trying to break the like record. The like record for lives this season between myself, Avery, and Sam is 124. So if you guys just hit the like button right now, we will crush that record. So if you guys are new here to the YouTube, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the games. You already missed the San Francisco 49ers, Rams, Vikings, and Browns. So now we're talking Raiders and Colts. Ashton Genty, he went off in week 4 against Chicago. We look at his snaps. His snaps were awesome. His routes, not the best, but his rush attempts, 21. He crushed. Only 2 targets, though. So I see a lot of kind of negatives in the positives here. I'm personally not a huge believer that Ashton Genty is going to be a great play for you the rest of the season. We look at the schedule. There's some pretty tough games on here. He's got the Colts here. Then he's got Jacksonville, Denver, Cleveland, Chargers, Denver again. There's just too many hard games. And I would say probably right now you are 0-4 or 1-3 if you have Ashton Genty. If not, maybe you're good. And maybe you can wait and make it to the playoffs where he has a little bit better schedule. But if you have a bad record, I would try to trade him away because this is a pretty tough schedule. And if he has bad weeks here throughout this section, you're probably not making playoffs. So I think you can start him this week, but definitely temper your expectations. Jacoby Myers, we're going to look at Myers as well, because he had a down week too. And that's something you got to watch out for with Jacoby Myers is that the target share has been there, but the points have been going down each and every week. So we look over at the targets here. Let's check that out. Week 1, 10. Week 2, 12. Then 4, then 7. Now, they didn't need to pass like crazy in this game. I think they'll need to pass a lot more against the Colts. But with Geno Smith struggling with interceptions, Jacoby Myers is another player I am worried about. So I would bench him if you can afford it because the Colts have been playing some good defense. I know they're ranked 30th against the pass, but with Geno Smith struggling with interceptions, you know the Raiders are going to be trying to run the ball first. And Brock Bowers, yeah, of course you're starting him, but I am worried about him as well. On the Colts side of the ball, I think Michael Pittman Jr. has really stepped up this year for you guys, and he's a good start. He's been pretty consistent. He's been a top guy except for week 2 against Denver, which is, that's totally fine. Great matchup this week. Touchdowns almost every week. Really showing up here. The route rate is above 90%. That's what we want to see for an elite player, and the targets have been solid each and every week as well. So if there was any concern about Michael Pittman Jr., I think he's really the only maybe question mark because we're obviously starting Warren and Jonathan Taylor for the Colts this week. Let me jump over to the chat here and see if there's any questions about this game. And then we're going to go into our next game, by the way, guys. Our next game is the Giants versus the Saints, and we're going to cover that. We're just going to answer a few questions between every single game here. Worthy or Flowers? I'd probably go Flowers. Well, I'd go Worthy, actually. I was thinking Lamar Jackson, he's out this game. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but I think Worthy really showed up, and with Rashee Rice still on suspension, I think I'd go Worthy over Flowers, actually. Gibbs and Addison for Waddle, Sutton, and Madison. I'd probably keep Gibbs and Addison, but love the rhyming there. Is Nico and Dak for Lamar and Godwin a good trade? I would say Nico and Dak for Lamar and Godwin is a good trade if you're getting Lamar and Godwin if you have a good record. Now, if you have a bad record, you can't wait for both these guys to come online. You have to have Nico and Dak for this week, but if you have a great record, I would make that trade to get the better players for the playoffs. Who to pick up with Lamar or Alex? I would go probably for Matt Stafford if he's available. Cooper Rush is not the worst option, but there's probably not a lot of great options on the waiver wire for you, unfortunately. Isaiah Bond or Darius Slayton. I'd probably go Darius Slayton, but Isaiah Bond, I do like both those guys as well. Thin RB, start 2, Mason, Sharp, Henderson, Harvey, or Carter. I'm just not going to be playing Mason in this game because he's playing the Browns. And last week we saw exactly what the Browns do to the in-between the tackles runner they crushed them. They crushed David Montgomery in this game. He had like 1 fantasy point. I would go Charbonnet, and I would probably go with Michael Carter if he's declared the starter. If not, I'll go RJ Harvey. Trade Achane and Moore for Kamara, Godwin, and Olave. Wow, you're getting 2 Saints there. I think that's a fine trade. Yeah, I think that's a good trade. Let's jump to the next game, guys. We're going to talk about the Giants versus the Saints. I want to talk Jackson Dart here. Can you start him this week? Maybe if you picked him up, you kind of have to. But I am worried about him a little bit because he did have the 111 pass yards in this game. He had 54 rush yards. Now, he did have 1 big run called back, so that's the major advantage with Jackson Dart. So I'm still going to play him. When we go to the matchup tab in the Walter Picks app, guys, and if you didn't know about this matchup tab, I know a lot of you already have the app. This is one of the most powerful things to look at. And we look here and we see Mac Jones, Kyler Murray, 18 points. I wouldn't hate that from Jackson Dart, Josh Allen. So rushing quarterbacks have done really well against the Saints. So I do think you can start him this week. That's why you do want to have the matchup tab in the Walter Picks app. That's why it's powerful to really dive in and see how quarterbacks of a similar style, I'm not saying he's on a Josh Allen level, but a similar style have done. Cam Scatterbo, I think, is a great start as well. We're going to look him up as well because I got to show you guys the rushing attempts. If you didn't watch this game, it was insane. He had, check this out, 25 rushing attempts last game against the Chargers. And this week, he gets a much better matchup against the Saints. So love Cam Scatterbo. The only thing I don't love is, Russell Wilson was never taking one of his rushing touchdowns. Jackson Dart absolutely could take a rushing touchdown. That's the one thing you have to worry about here. But the volume's insane. I'm starting Scatterbo. And let's look at Slayton as well. I think Slayton is the guy to have for the Giants. I'm not big on Wandale. He just doesn't score touchdowns. So I want Slayton as the guy that's going to replace Malik Neighbors. Very unfortunate there, by the way. But we look here and he had, he's had a couple good games in a row. Like his floor has been 7 points. That's not awful for someone that you're going to plug into your starting lineup. And then we look at the route percentage here. He did a little bit better than week 3, and he's probably going to do a little bit better week 4. Only 4 targets, but I think he's going to be worked more into the game plan. And these are higher value targets than some of the other players on the team have. So I think I would go with Darius Slayton. Wandale's not going to score in the red zone. They're going Dart. They're going to the Theo Johnson, who I don't mind either. They're tight end. I think he's actually a decent option. And they're going to Cam Scatterbo. So Slayton would be a guy that you hope you get the big play from, and that's why I'd start on that side of the ball. Now on the Saints side of the ball, you're starting Olave. He's been consistent every week. But Kamara, let's see if I can spell it right. I'm not a speller, but that's not part of the job description, fortunately. So the receptions looked a little bit better against Buffalo, but I'm just slightly worried about him because he's losing a little bit to Kendre Miller. You can see his rush share was only 44% in this game. He did have better target share, but I am worried about Alvin Kamara because Kendre Miller looked really strong. He had a great run for a touchdown and a really, really great waiver ad this week. He was available in 97% of leagues. Rushing touchdown, 65 yards. Look at the snap percentage, not the best. The rush share, he still only had 32%, but he had 11 rush attempts, and he made the most of them. He was more efficient on the ground. He had the touchdown. So I really like him this week against the Giants. He looks great. He's definitely earning more each and every week. Let's check the snap percentage as well. The snap percentage has been going up a little bit every week. Love to see that. And then the rush share has been going up almost every week as well. So Kendre Miller, he's definitely advancing. Alvin Kamara definitely dropping a little bit. But I honestly think you can still start Kamara. And if you're in a pinch, you can start Kendre Miller. Our next game is the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Jets. But let's answer a couple more questions here. Let's see here. Henderson or Wandale Robinson? I'd go Henderson. Let's answer a couple more questions here, guys, before we get to the next game. Dak or Drake May? I'd go Dak. We're going to talk about that game in a second, but I would go Dak. DeMarcado or Michael Carter? Lucas, I've been seeing Michael Carter as a start. By the way, guys, we're going for a new like record. I don't know what we're currently at, but the record is 124 likes. We currently have 199 people on the live. So if you guys all help me out, we can make it a record that's going to be tough for Avery or Sam to beat. So make sure you hit that like button to help us break that new record. And subscribe, by the way, so you don't miss any of the content. You don't have to wait for the Walter Picks push. I appreciate you joining because of that. But make sure you're subscribed so you get that notification every single time. Let's answer a couple more questions here. Tet or Judy? I would go with Tet. Woody Marks or Chase Brown? I'd go Woody Marks. He's taking over that backfield. We're going to talk about both those games coming up as well. I've got James Cook, Breece Hall, and Jalen Warren at wide receiver London. No wide receiver 2. Would you trade Cook for Johnston and Judkins? I would. I think that's a great trade. Judkins is going to be awesome. He's scoring touchdowns. And then Johnston has been great as well. So I would definitely make that trade, Drew. And that's exactly what you want to do if you're really hurting. Kyron Williams or Breece Hall. Nerd, I would go for Breece Hall. Breece Hall's backup just got hurt. It's going to be all Breece Hall all the time. So I think Breece Hall's a great choice for the rest of the season. If you have him, definitely awesome move. I'm scrolling fast to try to keep up with the comments here. Start Jackson Dart over Justin Fields. I don't think so. We're going to take a look at that game in a second here. Let's use that as the segue here. Let's look at Justin Fields, and then we'll go to the matchup tab in the Walter Picks app here. Because we want to get that data available to us. Justin Fields, let's head right to the matchup tab and see how the Cowboys have been against opposing quarterbacks. We see week 1, Hurts crushed, Wilson crushed, Caleb Williams crushed, Jordan Love crushed. I think we have to play Justin Fields. This is the power of the matchup tab in the Walter Picks app. You see rushing quarterbacks and passing quarterbacks, they all dominated against this Cowboys team. They're just struggling on defense. Let's just call it what it is. They're just letting everybody score against them, and these quarterbacks are absolutely crushing. Everyone except Jackson Dart, who took a few kneels in this game, I assume, Jack was a top 10 quarterback. So I think we have to play Justin Fields in this game. Really great for Garrett Wilson as well, Breece Hall. I think the Jets are actually a very startable team this week. I'm definitely going to be starting Justin Fields this week as well. Very excited for that. And then when we look on the Cowboys side of the ball, I want to check out Jake Ferg. I know some people may not have put him in their lineup last week, but let's check out how he did. And he had 17 points. And guys, this was a guy that we said that if you guys were on my live last week and why you should be subscribed, I told you should put him in the flex. He's that good. He was flex worthy. I told you he could be flex worthy. 17 points, a touchdown on 7 targets. Now that was his second lowest target of the season, but he still was flex worthy. So if you have Brock Bowers, if you've got Trey McBride, you may even want to put Jake Ferguson in your flex because he's been that good. So far, he's been better than Jamar Chase. He's been better, I think, than Justin Jefferson. He's been better than pretty much everybody in the league right now. He's been absolutely elite, aside from week 1, where he struggled a little bit. But since then, he's been one of the best players in all of fantasy football, let's be honest. So Jake Ferguson, got to go in your starting lineup. And if you have Bowers or McBride, maybe trade him away. This can continue. I know the schedule does get a little bit harder, but Jake Ferguson, if you trade away McBride, you can get like an elite RB. You can get elite wide receiver. You can't do that when you trade away Jake Ferguson, unfortunately. So I would look to make trades if you have both, but start Jake Ferguson on your team. George Pickens is a start. Dak Prescott is a start as well. Let's look at the matchup tab quickly for Dak Prescott and see how quarterbacks have been faring against the Jets here. Let's go with Dak here. We're going to get back into the matchup tab, and we're going to see that against the Jets, quarterbacks have done just okay. So I don't think you have to force Dak in the starting lineup. And this is the power of the Walter Picks app, power of the matchup tab. I don't think you have to force Dak in the starting lineup, but you can play him if you're hurting for a quarterback. I don't think there's going to be much better options on the waiver wire. I don't know if there's other questions about this game. Let's answer a couple more of your questions, though. Let's see here. CJ Stroud or Sam Darnold? I'd probably go Sam Darnold. Well, I'll go CJ Stroud, actually, because the Ravens, they're missing Lamar Jackson, so it's just going to be a little bit easier game for the defense. More opportunity. Dak Prescott for Devon Achane. I would definitely do that if you're okay at quarterback, for sure. J-Mo or Godwin? I'd go Godwin. He got 10 targets week 1. J-Mo won't even need to pass this week at all. Dobbins or Pittman in the flex? That's a tough one there. We already talked about the Colts game. Pittman's been awesome, so I think he's a great start. Well, I need to look at the Broncos a little bit later, but I would probably go Pittman at the flex there. Start Rashid or Wan'Dale. I'd go Wan'Dale. I'm not big on Shaheed this year. He hasn't been showing up like he did last year. I'm not big on Wan'Dale either, but I'd rather go Wan'Dale. And by the way, guys, if you could hit that like, we're going for a new like record of 125. Trying to set a like record that Avery and Sam, Avery's going live tomorrow, Sam goes live on Sundays, are going to struggle to beat. I appreciate you guys helping me set that record, have a little internal competition going with them, and trying to set that record a little bit higher. Let's answer a couple more. Prescott over Dart. I'd probably play Dart. We looked at the Jackson Darts matchup. It's really, really strong, especially for rushing quarterbacks. So I go Dart. Kendre Miller or Michael Carter. I'd probably play Kendre Miller unless we know for sure Michael Carter is going to lead the backfield. Hopefully we get a little bit more news on that one. Tet or Ladd. I would probably go with Tet. He's been a little bit more heavily targeted, a little bit more successful so far. Drake May or Dak. I probably would go Drake May now that we've looked at the matchup tab and gone into detail a little bit more. Yeah, doing the research, guys, it makes a difference. That's what it's all about. Our next game is the Denver Broncos and the Eagles. Yes, this is a tough one because Dobbins. Let's go to Dobbins and let's look at the matchup tab again. This is a huge advantage, guys. Your league mates do not have this at their fingertips like we do. So this is the power of the Walter Picks app. I know a lot of you guys already have it, but we see Jameson Williams crushed, Kieran Williams crushed, Bucky Irving crushed. I think that means we should be playing J.K. Dobbins. The running backs have dominated against the Eagles up to this point. That's just how it's been. I mean, every single week. Week 1, week 2. Week 2, actually, the Chiefs didn't dominate. Week 3, though, and week 4, the running backs did. Now, these were pretty good running backs, but J.K. Dobbins has been pretty good himself as well. We go over to the game log, and this week was his worst because they kind of gave the touchdown. They kind of gave the touchdown to R.J. Harvey. But I think that Dobbins is a really good start this week. The other players, you got to start Sutton. Can you start Troy Franklin? I don't know. I mean, last game they kind of was like almost like a practice game against the Bengals, unfortunately. Sorry, Bengals fans, but man, teams are kind of using your defense as practice. And I wouldn't go Troy Franklin. I'm looking at the route rate and seeing 81%. That's not strong enough for me to trust him. I know he had 8 targets. He's someone I definitely wouldn't drop, someone I am excited about, but I wouldn't be rushing Troy Franklin into my starting lineups. Now, on the Eagles side of the ball, I said you could sit A.J. Brown. I said you could sit him. Some people are going to say, well, I drafted him, I'm playing him. But I'm going out on a limb and saying you can sit A.J. Brown. I mean, the honest truth here, he's been awful. 1 point, 7 points, 22, 23 points. And I actually said you could start him that week. Then 3 points against, I'm being generous, 3 points against the Buccaneers. We look over at the targets. He's had good targets. It just hasn't been high quality. He's been kind of complaining in the media, so maybe he'll get targets. But this week he's facing Denver. And we go over to the matchup tab. This is not looking good, guys. I'll just let it scroll here. We have 2 players that have done well. It's been Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen. Because they're on the Chargers, who do you cover on that team, honestly? But nobody else has even done close to good. They played the Bengals and Jamar Chase, held him under 10 points. I don't care that it's Jake Browning. They held Jamar Chase to 7 points. Are you kidding me? Michael Pittman Jr. to 8 points, who's been great every other week. This is a problem when you're facing the Broncos. So I think you sit A.J. Brown. I think you can sit Devonta Smith as well. But of course, I'm going to start Jalen Hurts. And of course, I'm going to start Saquon Barkley. Let me answer a couple questions. And then we're going to keep moving on. Our next game is Dolphins at Panthers. But let's answer a couple of YouTube questions first. And again, guys, appreciate you hanging out. Drop a like, hit that subscribe. Let my boss know I'm doing a good job here. Let's answer a couple of your questions. Genty, Judkins, Wood, Henderson, start 2. I'm probably going to play Judkins and Woods, honestly. Woody Marks. Because Genty just hasn't been good except when he played the Bears. And the Bears, I'm sorry, Bears fans, but they are struggling. They are injured. And I would definitely, I'm not convinced on him yet. We got a question. Can we start Justice Hill in the flex, guys? If Justice Hill is available in your league, I certainly would add him. He's really standing out as the Ravens pass catching back. And Derrick Henry, he's just not getting the same volume. Now, the schedule does get easier for Derrick Henry, but I think Justice Hill is actually a good start this week. So if you do want to play Justice Hill in the flex, it's risky, but I think the upside is definitely there. So if you're in a tough matchup, put Justice Hill in that starting lineup. Worrying on Saquon, thinking of selling high. I actually did try to sell Saquon high, but if you sell high. Remember, we're not just selling to sell. Saquon does come with some name value. I almost got an insane trade for Saquon Barkley. Unfortunately, they did a little bit more research, and we're like, well, he hasn't been that good this year. But yes, I think you can sell high on Saquon because teams are really focusing on that run game, and they're doing a lot of more short passes. Dallas Goedert crushed this weekend. I think he's a good start. We didn't mention him. I think you can start Goddard. But yeah, I'm worried about Saquon a little bit. Worthy or Brian Thomas Jr.? I'd probably play Worthy. He looked pretty great in that game. Marks or Benson? I definitely play Woody Marks. Actually, if you guys didn't know, Trey Benson is out. He's going to IR, so you can't even play him. Look for Michael Carter on the waiver wire. That's who they're talking about starting. How do I get the best lineup in the Walter Picks app? Best projection, highest boom, lowest bust. Daniel, good question. Let me sync one of my leagues here. I'll show you guys, and then we're going to go to the next game, but I'll do my team. Let me do the 70-yard field goals. I used to have Cam Little on this team. Let me show you how to do that. So you go into my team, and then you just click best projection. So that's how you get the best lineup, and that's what we think. I'm on the projections team. That's what we, as Walter Picks, think will be your most points scored. But if you're facing a really tough matchup, go to highest boom. So you can see that change. Watch this change. So you can see when I go to best projection, I've got Jacoby Myers up here. When I go to highest boom, Jacoby Myers is gone because he just doesn't have the same boom potential, and I agree with that. And then lowest bust is your safest. So that's Jacoby Myers is back, and Drake London, we got to get him out of here. Obviously, he has no game. He's in a bye week, so he can't bust. He's obviously projected 0 points. But you can see Jacoby Myers is back because he's got a lower chance to have a bad game. So I think best projection is probably a great move. That's what you can see. Drake London is gone. I think that's the way to go. But if you are facing a tough matchup, I think highest boom is a great choice. And let's jump over to the next game. Great question, by the way. And I'm going to unsync my league because that was half PPR, and we're going to look at some PPR rankings here. But we're going to go to Miami versus Carolina. I want to talk about, let's start with Darren Waller. Let's start with the positives. Let's start with the positives in this game. Darren Waller, one game so far, right? That's one game, 17 fantasy points. He did have 2 touchdowns. He didn't play that many snaps. He didn't have that many targets. But I do think he's a great player to have off the waiver wire. The Dolphins no longer have Tyreek Hill. Last year, Jonnu Smith crushed for the Dolphins. So I think Darren Waller is a good play this week. But Jalen Waddle, I'm worried about. Because Tyreek Hill changes the defense. Now everyone's just focused on Waddle. So Waddle, I think, I don't know if you can play him this week. Carolina's been doing a great job against wide receivers. Or maybe they've just been doing a bad job against running backs. But Devon Achane is going to crush this week. But I really am not rushing to put Waddle in my starting lineup at all. Same with Tua. The only Dolphins players I really am interested in starting are Devon Achane, of course, and Darren Waller. On the other side of the ball, we have the Panthers. And I think on the Panthers, we got to look at Hubbard. We got to look at Chuba Hubbard here and see how he's been doing. So far, not too bad. We got to make sure he's not injured. But last 2 weeks, he hasn't been great. Miami's been struggling against the running back. We'll go to the matchup tab here and just kind of see how Miami's been doing against running backs. So they faced Jonathan Taylor and did a pretty good job. They faced James Cook. They faced Ramondre Stevenson and got cooked. Breece Hall cooked as well. So I think Hubbard, based on Breece Hall doing great and Stevenson doing great, could be a good start. And that's why you do want to use the matchup tab in the Walter Picks app. And I'm going to look up Ted McMillan here as well. And we're going to check him out. And he's been doing pretty good. I think a lot of people have been hating. But for a rookie to get you 12, 16, 8, and then 10, doing a little bit of rounding there, I still think you can play him this week because look at the route rate. Above 90%, even a couple weeks, almost 100%. That's an elite level. That's the kind of player that brings fantasy points. And the targets have been healthy as well. 9, 10, 8, 8. I think Ted McMillan is a fine start as well. So I know some people are panicking. I'm honestly trying to buy this guy for my team. He does have a pretty tough playoff schedule against New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and Seattle, who's been really great. But I still think Ted McMillan is a good buy based on the volume that he's been seeing this year. Let's answer a couple more YouTube questions. Our next game is Houston versus Baltimore. So a huge game that we're going to break down there. Then we're talking Tennessee and Arizona. Another big game with some interesting starts and sits. But let's answer a couple more YouTube questions here. And I appreciate you guys. If you guys just joined, we are going for a new like record. We need 125 likes. If someone could let me know what we're at, I'd appreciate it. But I can't even see that right now because I'm on StreamYard. And guys, we're trying to beat this record. Set a record that Avery and Sam can't beat. Let's answer a couple of your questions here. Do I start Ladd? I'm trying to sit Ladd if possible until he has that first big game. Darren Waller or Mark Andrews? I probably would go Darren Waller, honestly. We don't know what the Ravens are going to look like this week. Drop Gainwell for Carter if no one wants to trade. Yeah, Mitchell, if you have to get someone to play this week, I would do that. 71 likes. Guys, we need to up the likes. Come on, we got to get to 125. If everybody watching right now hit that like button, it takes 2 seconds. Come on, help me out. Let's get that new record going. And let's answer a couple more questions here. Michael Carter or Isaiah Bond? I go Michael Carter for safety. If you're playing a really tough matchup and be like, man, I just need to risk it for like 13 points, I'd go Isaiah Bond. DeMarcado or Cross Gamera or Dowdle? I probably would go Dowdle if Chuba Hubbard was to miss this game, but if not, I think DeMarcado is the play. It's trading Henry for Javonte Williams a good trade. It definitely could be. Javonte's been awesome. Henry has not been. So if you do want to make that trade, I'm not going to hate on it. It's definitely bold compared when you compare name to name, but compared fantasy value, you easily are winning that trade. Kendre Miller or Keon Coleman? I think you have to sit Keon Coleman. We're going to talk about the Bills a little bit later, but I mean, just look at the Keon Coleman performance right now. He has a very poor performance after week 1. In week 1, he had about 5 to 7 fantasy points entering the last 5 minutes of the game. Against the Jets, against Miami, and against the Saints, there is no last 5 minutes of the game for the Bills. They are just winning by so much. They don't need to pass. So I am worried about Keon Coleman. He's had 3 catches the last couple of weeks. He's not getting touchdowns anymore. I think he has to go on the bench. But let's talk about our next game, which is Houston versus Baltimore. I think you can sit Zay Flowers if you want to. Derrick Henry, I don't think you have to start him. I think that you could play him. You could play him. It's definitely a matchup where they're going to try to get him involved. It's going to be interesting for sure. I don't know what to do with Derrick Henry. He's definitely frustrating me as a fantasy manager. And we see Bucky Irving did well, but nobody else has really done well against this team. So I'm not saying you have to force Derrick Henry into your starting lineup. He honestly hasn't that good. I think Justice Hill is a very interesting player to have because he's going to be involved in the receiving game, especially in the third down role. He had 5 receptions in this game, and a lot of them came early on in the game as well. So I think Justice Hill, a great guy to have off the waiver wire, and someone that I'm not saying you can start him this week, but definitely someone I'm not going to let my league mates get out of the deal, especially with how little involvement Derrick Henry has had. So really not really excited about starting any Ravens players, to be honest, without Lamar Jackson on the field. Now for the Texans, Woody Marks is definitely a start for me. I think he's a top tier guy to play this week. We're going to have to maybe change him to lead back here. And this is something that the Walter Picks app gives you an advantage, guys. You want to look for this. Look at snap percentage, 11, 26, 47, 56. It's increasing every single week. Same thing we're seeing with Isaiah Bond with his route rate. These are the kind of players that you want to add every single week. He had 5 targets. I mean, he absolutely crushed. Let's just call it what it is. He crushed. You can start him this week against the Ravens. And when we look at the matchup tab, you'll see the Ravens have been awful against running backs. They faced James Cook. They faced Jahmyr Gibbs. They did face Quinshaw Junkins. So they did face some good running backs so far, but they've been one of the worst in the league against running backs. Even Isaiah Pacheco had a good week last week at 12.7 points. That's not too bad. So I do think that Woody Marks is a great start this week for you, especially if you were able to add him off the waiver wire. And even better for you if you were able to add him before that. Let's answer a couple more questions here. And we're going to keep moving game by game, guys. Should I drop Coleman for Dobbs? I would probably do that. Coleman's not, you don't need to roster him. Jamar Chase, who do you trade for? I traded for Rashee Rice. I think Rashee Rice will be top 5 when he comes back. Jamar Chase, I don't think the Bengals can do anything, honestly. Tremble or Tungus? I would play Tungus. You are 83 likes, Dat Boy Tommy. Guys, we got to hit 125 likes. Come on. Help me out. It takes 2 seconds. Help me out. Help me hit 125. Chase Brown, David Montgomery, or Woody Marks or A.J. Brown. Wow. I think Woody Marks would definitely be my play. Evan says Javonte or Breece. I think I'd go Breece. Breece is looking great for the rest of the season, guys, with the injuries the Jets had in that game. Genty, Hubbard, or Woody Marks. I think probably go Genty and Woody Marks. Zach Ertz or Mark Andrews. I think I'd probably go Mark Andrews. I think he just has more upside. Are you trading Tet for Rashee Rice? Yeah, for sure. I think if you're getting Rashee Rice for pretty much anybody, it's a good deal. It's a good deal if you're getting Rashee Rice. He's going to be that good. Can we start Jerry Jeudy with new QB? I wouldn't rush to start Jerry Jeudy. He hasn't really been that good. And I don't think it gets better. I mean, Joe Flacco was the best option. Let's just call that what that is, in my opinion. He hasn't been that good. He has one game over 10 points all year. Don't rush him into the lineup here. Hopefully he's great if he's on your team, and hopefully I'm completely wrong and you can start him next week. That's always the hope when we bench somebody. When we say this guy's a bench, the hope is we're completely wrong and you can confidently start him the next week, but I just don't see that happening this week. I don't see the like button, Garrett. I don't know why that would be, but Garrett, if you do see the like button, I appreciate you at least taking a look for me. Let's talk Tennessee versus Arizona. Tony Pollard, you can keep starting. But let's talk Marvin Harrison Jr., man. Guys, I think he's a sit this week. I really do, because he just was so bad in the first half of that game. And then he came back as soon as they started playing as soon as they started playing man defense. But do you expect Tennessee to even play some man defense? That would just be dumb. Let's just call that what it is. We're calling everything what it is apparently today. But that would be dumb, because he's great against man coverage. He's not good against zone. That Kyler Murray can't get him the ball. So I would sit Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. They have a lot of injuries on this team. Kyler Murray's been struggling with picks as well. I know some of that was Marvin Harrison Jr.'s fault, but I would try to sit most of your Cardinals players. Trey McBride, obviously a good start. I think Michael Carter you could go for, because against Tennessee, they've been really struggling. Alec Eomenor, though, let's check out Alec. He's been pretty solid. If you need a flex due to bye weeks, I think he's the guy to go with. 2 weeks in a row, he did have a touchdown. Now, he wasn't great last week, but much better matchup this week against the Cardinals. So Alec and Pollard, I think, are the Titans that you could start. Let's jump to the next game as well. Tampa Bay versus Seattle. Are there any big start-sit questions in this game? I think Charbonnet. Let's check out Charbonnet. Let's check out Charbonnet here. He did have a touchdown last game. I want to see his rush share and his snap share. So snap share was 47%. His route rate was 44%. And let's see, his rush share was only 34%. But he still had 12 touches. I think you could start Charbonnet against Tampa Bay. Let's check the matchup. It's not the best, I'm pretty sure. Tampa Bay's pretty good against the run. Yeah, Bijan did great. Nick Chubb actually did pretty good. Barkley did pretty good as well. So honestly, you probably could start him. You probably could start Charbonnet. They haven't really shut down too many people except the Jets with Tyrod Taylor in week 3. So yeah, you could probably start Charbonnet in this game. For the Seattle, I think K9's a good start. Obviously, Cooper Kupp, I think, is a sit. He's almost a drop at this point. And on Tampa Bay, you're starting Godwin. You're starting Mekhi Buka. You're starting Rashad White, especially if Bucky Irving misses this game. And I think we're starting Baker Mayfield as well. So most of the players in this team, I think you can start. Now, Charbonnet, I'm not expecting a huge game, but if you're like, oh, I need a running back, what do I do? I've got like Michael Carter or Jordan Mason. I think go Charbonnet. I'm not playing Jordan Mason against the Browns. That's for sure. Let's do one more game, and then we'll get back to the start sit questions. Detroit versus Cincinnati. I personally think you can sit Jamar Chase. I'm just going to call it how I see it. Jamar Chase has been terrible. I traded him away for Rashee Rice today. I mean, he's got 3 games under 9 points. It doesn't matter if he's the wide receiver 1. He faced Denver. He faced Minnesota. The schedule does get a lot easier, but I don't think it gets easier for this offense because they were getting crushed. Their offensive line is terrible. They can't run the ball at all. They don't have time to get down the field at all. He's throwing picks. This is a disaster for the Bengals. I wouldn't be surprised even. I'm going to say this is bold, and maybe this is totally off base, but if Jamar Chase, maybe at the end of the season, they're just like, why? Why would we even play our star players when we're completely out of the playoffs at the end of the season? I don't know why the answer would be yes. We have to play Jamar Chase week 16, 17, and 18. Why would you do that? But I don't know. But I trade him away. I think you can bench him. I mean, he's running tons of routes, but they're doing terrible. The snaps are awful. Look at last year, guys. Look at last year. The snaps were absolutely insanity. Look at most weeks, he's in like the 70s or 60s. This year, he's in the 40s. It's just not enough volume for him to be good. So I sent away Jamar Chase. I think you sit T. Higgins. You can sit Chase Brown as well. There is nobody on this Bengals team I would start. Now, in Detroit, it's definitely the running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. Now, David Montgomery, last week we said you could sit him. He was awful against the Browns. You just don't play people against the Browns. But other weeks he's been awesome, like against Baltimore. He was great against Chicago. That's solid, 13.1. It's not terrible. I think they get him back on track this week. They give him a touchdown to say, hey, thank you for struggling against the Browns, trying to run between the tackles, wear them out a little bit. I think they get David Montgomery a touchdown. So I'm going to play David Montgomery. I'm going to play Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm going to play Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that's pretty much it. I don't need to play Sam Laporta. I don't think we need to play Laporta. Let's check out how Laporta's been doing. He was on my do not draft list this year. So let's see how he's been doing. I mean, he did a great week 1, but since then he's been bad. Let's just call it, he hasn't been good. Good matchup this week, good route rate. Everything's looking pretty good, but they just don't need to pass. They're not going to need to pass against the Bengals at all. I'll tell you that right now. And we go over to the matchup tab. Let's see who they've played against. They played Harold Fannin Jr. They played TJ Hawkinson week 3. But overall, the tight ends haven't been really crushing it against the Bengals. You just don't need to pass at all. Evan Ingram, they were kind of forcing him targets. Adam Troutman, they got him some targets too. But you don't need to pass against the Bengals. So I'm not starting any pass catchers. I'm not starting Jameson Williams. I'm not starting Jared Goff against the Bengals as well. Because, again, you just don't need to pass. And so maybe Jared Goff will be good if they get some long touchdowns or they pass it to Jahmyr Gibbs. But overall, this is just going to be a practice game for the Lions. I just think Cincinnati's really struggling this year. Very unfortunate because that's a good team. With Joe Burrow, they're definitely going to be competitive. This would have been a really exciting game. Without Joe Burrow, it's just going to be a stomp, unfortunately. The line here, let me check the line for you guys. The line is Detroit minus 10.5. They're projected to win by so much in this game, so I'm not really trusting any Bengals players. Let's answer a couple more questions here. A.J. Brown, J.K. Dobbins, or Zay Flowers. I'd probably go J.K. Dobbins. Do I start Pickens or JSN? That's a tough one. I would probably go with JSN because Pickens will probably get Sauce Gardner. Tough one, though. Nico Collins, good start as well. I'd start him over Pickens, too. Pickens is fine, but he's definitely going to probably do a little bit worse this week than last week. McConkey, William, I'm trying to sit McConkey till he breaks out because he's been actively hurting our teams. We are going to talk about that game here in a minute. Franklin or Slayton, I'd probably go Franklin. He's been a little bit more involved so far. I got Bucky, but I picked up Rashad. If Bucky suits up, who do I start? I mean, if Bucky plays, you play him. Do you think the Bengals will trade for Kirk Cousins? I don't see how they really can. I don't see why they would, honestly. Logically, I get where you're coming from, so I'm not hating on that. But if the Bengals get last place this season, they get the top draft pick, right? I mean, that's kind of where we're headed. We're headed for top draft pick season. They're not making the playoffs, so what's the point? You know, if you're not going to make the playoffs, what's the point of winning a few games? Like, yeah, the morale, maybe you call that a win, but why waste the money? You know, the Bengals are one of the cheapest organizations in the league. Why waste the money when you can just get a cheap rookie? That's probably what the Bengals want anyway. So I think they just keep rolling Jake Browning out there, throwing him to the Wolves. I don't know. It's going to be a disaster in Cleveland, in Cincinnati. Maybe they trade for someone just to keep the receivers happy, but they need far more than receivers. We saw the viral video of Denver rushing 3 against a 6-man front and still getting a sack. If you rush 3 against 6, you should never win at the NFL level, but that's where the Bengals are at. So I don't think they're going to do much. I just don't see anything good happening there. May or Baker? I play May. I like that matchup. We're going to talk about that one in a couple games here. We're going to talk about every game. We've got a couple left here, but we're going to answer a couple more of your questions. And I appreciate you guys. By the way, some of you guys have been here start to finish. Appreciate that. I so appreciate that. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me, because obviously you're by myself. Honestly, that would just be sad. So appreciate you guys. Traded Kyler and Olave for Fields and McConkey. I don't hate that, Blake. I think that's not bad. Pittman, McMillan, or McConkey. I'd probably play Pittman this week. Drop Ridley, Kirk Gainwell for Malik Washington. I think you could drop Christian Kirk. Yeah. Tet or Woody for the flex. I'd go Woody. I think Woody Marks is a great start for everybody this week, pretty much. Herbert or Goff. I would go Herbert. Goff, again, they're just not going to need to pass at all. Do you think BTJ bounces back? Evan, I really like that from Brian Thomas Jr. We are going to talk about that game coming up as well, so I'm not going to spoil that, but I do really like Brian Thomas Jr. I've been trying to trade for him as much as I can lately. Should I pick up RJ Harvey? Oh, yeah, for sure. Pick him up if he's available. You're trying to trade Josh Allen for Justin Jefferson. Ezekiel, I would think that if it's a small league, that seems like a good trade for you. Get Josh Allen for Justin Jefferson. If you have a wide receiver to replace him, I would do that. Schultz, Hawkinson, or Ertz. I'd go Schultz. I really like Dalton Schultz. We didn't talk about him earlier, but he's been really stepping it up for the Texans, so I do like Dalton Schultz a lot. Johnson or Garrett Wilson for the year, Drew? Wow, that's an amazing question. Garrett Wilson has looked great with Justin Jefferson, or with Justin Fields. That's tough. I probably would go Garrett Wilson just because he's like the clear one for the team, but good question. A very tough question. K9 or Woody? I would go with, I'd probably go with Woody Marks. He's really stepping up. Rams defense or Browns defense? I would go with the Browns defense, because not only do they have a good matchup against a very injured Vikings team, they also play the Bengals, I think, next week, and you get multiple good games in a row if you go with the Browns defense. Let's do another game here. We got Washington versus Los Angeles. So Ladd McConkey is the player I'm going to talk about here. So my strategy when players like Ladd McConkey are struggling, and we probably need to change his tag from wide receiver 1, is I'm just going to bench him till he has his first good game. That way I don't need to stress about it. I don't need to worry about it. And I'm only ever going to miss one more time. That is the beauty of the strategy. So guys, let me just say that one more time. If you're newer to fantasy football, I want to make sure you get this, because this is really important. So we've missed on Ladd McConkey every single week. You put him in your lineup. He's hurt you, except week 1, 13 points. That's not bad. But he's hurt you every single week. 9, 8, and 2 points. If we keep starting him and he keeps doing bad, he's going to hurt us every single week. But if we bench him till he has that first good week, assuming that he's back, we'll only miss that 1 week. So I will bench him till he has the good week on my bench, and then I'm going to put him back in my starting lineup. I'm starting Keenan Allen in this game, Omarion Hampton in this game, Quentin Johnson in this game, and Justin Herbert in this game. So the only sit for me is going to be Ladd McConkey. I'm done missing with Ladd McConkey. On the Commander side, I think Debo is the main start. You can't start the running backs. I'm starting Jaden Daniels if he plays, but Debo's been awesome every week but week 3. Excuse me, and that was Marcus Mariota's first game with the team. So I think Debo's a good play. You see the targets, the rushing. He's had some rush yards in almost every game. Just love his involvement with this team. The route rate was great last week, so I think Debo's a great choice for this game. Those are kind of the main starts, and let's do New England versus Buffalo. This is a huge game because this is Stephon Diggs' revenge game versus the Bills, and honestly, the Bills have been better off without him. They really have been, because their offense really developed into a much more unstoppable force when they don't have to worry about getting one guy the ball. That sucked for fantasy football, but the Bills, they get the ball to everybody. Josh Allen, James Cook dominate the game. So Buffalo, I think, is going to win this game. Buffalo is favored by over 7 points here. I think Diggs is a good start this week, though. He kind of have a little bit of a breakout, 100 yards, 6 catches. How many targets did he have here? 7 targets, and he had his highest route rate of the game. Remember, guys, he's coming back from injury. His route rate has increased. He did have 64% week 1, but let's see how many routes he ran. He played 29 snaps, so he kind of played the lowest amount of snaps week 1, so they just didn't have a lot of routes available, but the route rate since then has increased every single week, and his snaps have gone up a little bit as well. So I really like his snap percentage has gone up a little bit every single week. So I like Stephon Diggs in this game against the Bills. For the Patriots running backs, I don't really want to start any of them. If I did start one, I mean, you probably only have one, but I'd go Henderson probably in this game. And then for the Buffalo Bills, I think Shakir's interesting. I'm not playing Coleman. I'm definitely playing James Cook, definitely playing Josh Allen. I think Drake May is a good start as well. Let's quickly check out Drake May. I think there's a lot of questions about him. Let's see how good of a start he is. I'll rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. We'll go to the matchup tab in the Walter Picks app, guys. Don't forget to use this tab. Lamar Jackson did great week 1. Since then, Fields, Taylor. They haven't faced a lot of good quarterbacks, but I'm probably going to sit them. If Lamar Jackson is the only quarterback that's done well against them, I'll probably sit Drake May. So that's why we do want the matchup tab in the Walter Picks app. I know Drake May has been good, but I'm not saying to sit him over like some waiver guys. Like maybe Dak, you want to play over him. Maybe, Justin Herbert, you want to play over him. Like there's a couple guys in that. Justin Fields has a great matchup. You want to play over him. So I would sit Drake May for those guys because he does have a little bit of a tougher matchup this week. Nobody's really done that well against the Bills. So I would sit Drake May this week if you have another really solid option. If you don't, I'm not too worried. He's been awesome. So I'm not saying you got to sit him over anybody unreasonable. It's just if you have another top tier guy this week with a much better matchup, I would play them over May. But most of you guys, if you got May, you're happy. He's been doing awesome, and you're locking him in. All right, guys, we got one more game. We'll save that for the last 5 minutes here. So let's answer a couple more questions here. Trade Mason and Tat for Keenan Allen. I don't know if I would do that. I'd shop around for maybe a little bit better. Start Etienne or Dobbins. I would go with, let me see. We're going to talk about that game next. I would probably go, the Broncos play the Eagles. I think Dobbins is a good start. I'd go Dobbins. Tanj or Strange, I'd go Tanj for the 49ers. By the way, guys, John, thank you. Hit the like button, guys. We're trying to hit a new record of 125 likes. That's what we got to do to beat our old record. Give Sam and Avery a target to shoot for. So if you're here and you've been enjoying this live the entire time, I appreciate you. And if you could show a little love by hitting the like button, takes 2 seconds, helps me out a little bit as well. Let's keep answering questions. We're going to do 4 more minutes of questions, cover the last game, and then answer any questions with the remaining time here. Pittman or Devonta Adams this week? I'd go Pittman, I think. How can I convince my opponent to trade for Chase Brown? That's a good question, but honestly, I would just wait till he has a good week or look for one of your opponents who needs a running back. One of the things that you could do, this is a huge trade piece of advice. Again, guys, if you're new, this is gold. You want to trade for people who are on a bye week. Remember, everybody has a bye week. You might as well get it out of the way and get some value, especially week 5. So let's say like you want Jalen Warren, you want Josh Jacobs. Maybe send a trade to someone that has a player on bye. They can play Chase Brown this week, and they're going to feel better about their team, and you can get a better player in return and just absorb the bye week this week. Pretend the Bengals had the bye week this week. That's how I would try to trade Chase Brown. Try to trade him to somebody that has a player on bye. Trade for that player on bye that's a better player than Chase Brown, and you're going to lock in some value that way. That's a way to kind of get around it, kind of grease the wheels a little bit on getting the trade moving, is trading for a player that is on a bye week. Kendre Miller or Harvey? I would go Kendre Miller. Sutton or Godwin? I'd play Sutton. Sutton's been awesome, guys. 96, John. Okay, guys, we are closing in. We are only 29 likes away from a new record. Hit that like button, guys. I know we can do it with the 77 here. Maybe you guys have all already liked, but I bet we have 29 people who can help me hit the goal. 100 would be awesome, though. We're close to 100. Who's going to be number 100? Start 3, A.J. Brown, Or Johnston, Tay Adams, Pickens. I think we got to start the bottom line there, Paulie. Johnston, Tay Adams, or Pickens. Fannin, Theo, Schultz, Tanj, Taylor. I'd go Tanj as your streamer. Jake Tungus of the 49ers. Goff or Stafford? Should I also sit Jefferson? I don't know which Jefferson. We're definitely starting Justin Jefferson, even though he's playing the Browns. But Goff or Stafford? I would probably play Goff just because the Lions will probably score more points. I am worried they're all going to be rushing touchdowns, though. Trade Saquon for BTJ and Sutton. I don't mind that. I would shop around a little bit and just tell your league. Tell your league straight up. Be like, hey, guys, I'm going to trade Saquon by the end of the day tomorrow. I already have my best offer in hand. If you can beat that offer, I'll trade with you. But right now, this trade is locked in. You can tell that person, hey, I'm going to do this trade unless I get a better offer before tomorrow. If I don't get a better offer, I'm locking in your trade. And be honest about it. Don't, not do it. But that's a way that you can kind of get your league mates competing against each other to try to get the best value. Let's see here. We got 2 more minutes, and then we're going to go to the last game of the week. Trade Saquon for, we did that one. Drop Justice Hill, Algier, or Kendre Miller from the bench. Wow, I think all 3 of those guys are going to be awesome. I think Kendre Miller, I think I would try to trade Kendre Miller to somebody. They'll probably pay up. So what I would do is take one of your starters and Kendre Miller and trade him to somebody that needs a running back and try to upgrade one of your starters before I would drop them. I think Kendre Miller's too good to just drop. 100 likes. Let's go. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys hitting the 100 likes. I'd love to hit 125, but I will take 100. Let's see here. One wide receiver, one RB, and a flex. QJ, Keenan Allen, Godwin, Chuba Judkins. I think I'm going to go with Judkins, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnston. Yeah, I'm just going to lock in both Chargers to lock in that value. Black said Sutton. Yeah, Sutton or Godwin. I would go with Sutton this week. He's just been better. Godwin was awesome last week. You do want to have Godwin. He's a good trade for target, but he did only have 3 catches on 10 targets. Sutton has had elite fantasy value all but 1 week where he played against the Colts, who take away the number 1 wide receiver. So that's all you got to worry about there. Absolutely great job by the Colts defense, again, except everyone but the Rams. Hendo or DeMercado? I'd go Hendo. Yeah, guys, we're close to the new like record. We got 5 minutes left to hit 125 likes, and now we got 5 minutes left, so it's time to talk about our last game of the stream. Again, appreciate you guys hanging out. Remember, the Falcons, the Bears, and Green Bay and Steelers are on bye this week, so our last game of the stream is the Chiefs versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have some really interesting things to talk about in this game, guys, because I spend my Sundays literally watching every game. I've got the red zone, not red zone. I've got the 4 box up on the TV. Sometimes I even bring another one up on my phone, and I'm watching every single game. And I watched a lot of this Jaguars game this weekend. I know not a lot of people did because they played the 49ers, but I watched a lot of this game. And the thing I love about this, I'm going to show you guys right here. The targets. Look at the targets. He had 7, 12, which seems awesome, but it's not as good as it looks. 6 and 7, and then look at the catches. 1, 4, 5, and 2. The catch percentage this week was much, much, much better than the past. Again, the catch percentage, and this was also his most catches, and he didn't even have the most targets. So think about that. He had 7 targets, and this was by far, his most catches compared to the other weeks where he had around 7 targets. They were getting him the ball, and he was wide open. That was the difference in this game. When they threw the ball to Brian Thomas Jr., he was open, and that is something they can build on. So I'm really excited about Brian Thomas Jr. this week. I am definitely going to play him against the Chiefs. I'm going to play Travis Etienne. I'm going to play Brenton Strange if you need to. I think that's probably it from the Jaguars. On the Chiefs side, I really like the way Xavier Worthy looked in this game. Very exciting for Xavier Worthy. He's really looking great in year 2. 17 fantasy points. He had 83 yards. He had 8 targets. I really think Xavier Worthy could be a top-tier option this year, especially when Rashee Rice is back. Who do you cover? Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice? The running backs are starting to step it up as well with Xavier Worthy on the field. I'm really excited about this Chiefs offense. I want pieces of it, and a guy that you guys can all add right now. So the fact that you stayed to the last 3 minutes may get you a potential league winner, Brashard Smith. He was available in about 94% of leagues before today. Look at these targets. He had 3 receptions, and he had, how many targets did he have? 4 targets, or 4 rush attempts and 4 targets. And these targets came early on in the game. I think all of his targets came in the first half. His rush attempts came at the end of the game when it was out of hand. But these targets, the 4 targets, were when the game was still close. That is very exciting. The target share, 11%. If he starts to get a little bit more of that target share, take some from Hunt, take some from Pacheco, who haven't been the most impressive, he could actually be a pretty amazing option this year, and he is free on the waiver wire. And let's go over to his snap percentage here. Snaps, he played 19 snaps. Now, some of that has to do with the blowout nature of the game, but the route rate was by far the highest. Very exciting from Brashard Smith, and you guys can add this guy for free off the waiver wire. All right, we got 2 minutes left. Let's answer a couple more questions here. Brian Thomas, Diggs, or Carter at the flex? I mean, I'm really feeling Diggs this week in the revenge game, so I probably would play Diggs. Trade Mason and Fannin or Njoku for ETN. I would do that trade. I would definitely trade. I don't know. Njoku could get traded. That's like the one thing there that could make him exciting. So I don't want to totally give him away, but he's not startable at all. Drake May, Stafford, Geno Darnold. I'd play Drake May. Miller, Harvey Henderson, Carter, Sharby, Hill start 2. Wow. I'd go Kendre Miller and probably Michael Carter if he's going to be the guy, probably. Trade Genty for Hampton, 100%. Yeah, trade Genty for Hampton. Lock that in. Trade Bucky for Sutton and BTJ. Bucky's hurt, so I would definitely do that, yeah. Trade ETN or Montgomery. I'd probably go Montgomery. Just a really nice matchup this week. Really nice matchup. Judy, Amanor, or Slayton. I would probably go with... Wow, Judy's been pretty bad, but he does have a new quarterback. Slayton is going to have his new role with Malik Neighbors out, and Alec Amanor has probably been better than all 3 all season long. I'd probably go Alec Amanor just because he's been better. I don't know. That's why I like that Tommy boy. We're 104 likes. I appreciate it, guys. If you want to help me out, guys, We literally have 40 seconds left of this stream. If you could take 2 seconds of those 40 and hit that like button, I'd really appreciate it. We're trying to hit 125 for the stream. If you guys hold it out for the last second, I'd still appreciate it. We got 30 seconds left here. Let's answer a couple more questions. Kendra or Brees? Got to go Brees, guys. Brees is going to be awesome rest of the season. Good trade for target. Should I trade Javonte for Rice? I already have Brees, Judkins, and HN. Yeah, I think that's a good move. If you have to choose between Bucky and Saquon, I'd go with Saquon. Again, Bucky's hurt, guys. I definitely want the healthier running back. Miles Sanders or Bijan Robinson or Knight? Wow, if I had to hold one, I'd probably hold Brian Robinson. Judy or Kendrick Bourne? I'd go Judy. All right, guys, that is our time. It is officially 7 p.m. So if you could, last second to hit the like button. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe. Come back for Avery's stream tomorrow night, Sam's stream on Sunday, and I'll be here next Wednesday for another hour going through every game, helping you out. Check us out on the TikTok. Check us out on the Walter Pick app. We have Discord as well, and I'll see you guys next week. Really appreciate you hanging